Character of Saturn in Paradise Lost by John Milton. Saturn is the most moving character in Paradise Lost. The action of the poem or the thought of the poem turns round man's first disobedience. Yet, the character of Saturn mirrors an epic like grandeur to Paradise Lost. He is strengthened with some of those qualities that make the hero of an epic. And in Milton's mind, Saturn is the hero of the Paradise Lost. He is the most brave and heroic subject ever chosen for a poem, and the execution is as perfect as the design is. Addison has rightly said in this regard, the most exalted and most depraved being. Why then does Milton give the value of a hero to Saturn in the first book and in all the parts of the epic where he makes his presence? The reasons for opposing God Almighty Himself is said to be ambition. Ambition, pride, and love of supreme leadership was in the mind of Saturn that overruled God. Egoism is no doubt there at the bottom of his life and actions, and because he shows it under almost certain difficult circumstances, we cannot but sympathize with Satan because he knows in due course that God cannot be overcome either by men or by devils. He is not going to resign before the Almighty. Love of freedom is his most thoughtful necessity. In book 1, we get Saturn in the moment of his greatest disaster. There is no lower point to which he could be taken down by fate or fortune. We see him a fallen creature, his face and form disfigured, stunned by the defeat and downfall, and he becomes an object of terror and pity. Milton's first description of Saturn is intended to impress the readers with his superhuman appearance and powers. He is of great stature, yet without body, such as we possess. There is nothing grotesque or absurd or comic in describing him as a huge giant moving over the burning lake and occupying many leagues of a space to keep his body. We are naturally impressed by such a figure. Saturn has genius and he has all his charm, that is, great beauty, great intellect, great emotion, great physical daring, in all things proudly eminent. This was the personality of Saturn before his downfall or degradation. Milton's Saturn is endowed with heroic qualities. The outstanding characteristics of his character is courage. Courage never to yield, Milton says. He may be wrong headed, but he has limitless courage in himself. As the poem Paradise Lost begins, we find Saturn in a hopeless position. He and his companions have been hurled down into the bottomless pit and of hell. He lies dead and is stunned in the lake of liquid fire, and so do his friends, the evil angels. Heaven is lost to Saturn and his friends, and they are doomed to live forever in the darkness of hell. But this gloomy prospect of the future does not fill Saturn with despondency, robbing him of his power of action. He is still optimistic. Milton says, fallen cherub, to be weak is miserable, doing or suffering. Saturn is determined not to be weak under any circumstances. Even in hell, Saturn discovers an advantage. Better, Milton says, better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. Saturn has great fear and anxiety for his followers. It is the trait of a great general of an army to think of the welfare of his followers even before he thinks of his own defense. All great warriors and conquerors were able to inspire their followers with loyalty and devotion and determination, which make them ready to suffer and die for their leader. This feeling of braveness, chivalry, overcomes Satan as he sees his unconscious friends lying in profound slumber all around him. He is not to forget that they had met this cruel fate because of their devotion to him. He sees their self sacrifice due to his heroic ambition. So he is represented as shedding tears of sympathy for them. This is very pathetic, and this is pathetic fall for the followers. A great leader should have great qualities of characters. He should have courage, a strength, and indomitable will. Above all, he should be a man of action and effort. Milton Saturn is endowed with all these qualities. Saturn is not only courageous himself, he can inspire courage in his friends and followers. They lie dashed in the lake of liquid fire, but the courageous words of their leader inspire them from their bad situation and make them bold and active once again. Saturn's greatest quality as a leader is his alertness to act under any circumstances. Even hell cannot rob him of his power to act. Having fallen down into the bottomless pit, he lies unconscious for some time in the lake of liquid fire. With the result of his great fall, but the moment he regains consciousness, he decides to be active, not to lie anymore in that abject position. As a leader, Saturn is ready and eager to assume his difficulties, responsibilities, and dangers of leadership as well as his rights, ready to accept hazard as well as honor. Saturn was proud, defiant, and of an independent temper of mind. He is not to submit to the authority of God. He rebels against the Almighty and wins over to his side a third part of his angelic host. He fights against God and was defeated. And it was after his defeat that Saturn's greatness is expressed. Defeat is not to curb the independence of his spirit, the freedom of Saturn. What though the field be lost, all is not lost, the unconquerable will, and a study of revenge, immortal hate, and courage never to submit or yield, and what is else not to be overcome. Hell was a dirty and desolate place, very different indeed from heaven, but its dismal surroundings could not break his spirit. He welcomes hell and he is ready to reign there. Farewell, happy fields where joy forever dwells. Hail, horrors, hail, infernal world, and thou profoundest hell, receive thy new possessor, one who brings a mind not to be changed by place or time, The mind is its own place and itself can make heaven of hell and a hell of heaven. All is not lost to him. Saturn has many admirable qualities. For example, his power of endurance, his heroism, and his indomitable refusal to admit loss and defeat. These virtues are expressed in peculiarly Miltonic words of eloquence, and these eloquence are great and with power. His first speech shows him challenging his conqueror, and thou in pain.